Shush Rabbanim, Chashuv guests, and friends. On behalf of Shuvu, I would like to welcome you all here this evening, and thank you for coming to such an important event. Before we begin, Hakar Satov must be given to those responsible for making this evening such an amazing success. The men and women of Shuvu's Brooklyn office have worked around the clock over the last month or so, ensuring that tonight's events went off without a hitch. And for that, I must publicly thank Reb Abe Biederman and Reb Yossi Hach, the co-chairman of Shuvu. Additionally, I must thank Reb Yosef Moshe Aronoff, who spearheaded this event and put his whole heart into tonight's program. I would also like to thank tonight's hosts committee, who most of you are here thanks to them. And last but certainly not least, a special thank you to Bella, who has put so much time and effort into this and all of Shuvu events, whom without, nothing would have gotten done. About a month ago, I was approached by Rabbi Yossi Moshe Aronoff asking me if I would agree to host an evening to help raise awareness for Shuvu Chazon Avrohom in the Marine Park community. I asked my boss if it was okay, and after my wife agreed, we were all set to go. But before I embarked on a month-long campaign to ensure this evening would be a success, I wanted to get to know a bit more about Shuvu and why, of all the tzedakahs and worthy causes out there, one of our Gedolei Adar, Reb Avram Pam, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, Rosh Hashiva of Yeshiva Torvadas, decided to start Shuvu and choose the cause of helping Russian children that are immigrating into Eretz Yisrael from communist Russia become from and guided onto the path of Shomrei Torah and Mitzvahs. So I started reading about Shuvu and saw that it all started with Reb Pam's speech at the 1990 Aguda Convention. This was at a time when Russia finally opened its doors and allowed those who were persecuted based on religion to finally leave on their own will. He stated matter-of-factly that the future of Eretz Yisrael will be determined in the classrooms. He looked at each and every person at that convention and told them point blank it was each of their duties to save every child that is coming into Eretz Yisrael, that they were our families, our brothers and sisters, and our children. So I started to read more about Shuvu. I read about so many personal stories of return by the children of Shuvu. Tonight we have with us the world-renowned speaker, Rabbi Pesach Kron. He has written so many books with the most amazing stories of Siyata D'Shmai and Hashgacha Pratis. I've read every one of his books, and most of them left me with tear-filled eyes. When I was reading the stories about the Shuvu children, I was crying by each and every story. Some of them left me shaking. And I started to wonder why. Why am I so emotional over these stories? And I guess what Rav Pam said really hit home. When I had my second child, my daughter, I noticed I started getting teary-eyed when I went to chasanas, while watching the Kala being walked down the chuppah by her father. I would often find myself imagining it was me walking my own daughter down to the chuppah, and I would get all choked up. While I was reading these stories, I got all choked up because, like Reb Pam said, these are our children too. We must treat them as such. And if our children were in the situation the Shuvu children were in, we would do anything to help them succeed. One of the many stories I read of self-sacrifice by many of the Shuvu children in defying their parents' wishes and sometimes hiding the fact that they were Shomer Shabbos, I read about a family living in Sderot. They were being hit with many Qassam rockets by the Arabs on a daily basis. The children were scared and were developing sleeping disorders among many other problems. The family decided to move to the north away from the rockets. After some research, they felt Shuvu was the best school for their children. And after a year or two of succeeding in the Shuvu school, one of the children walked over to her father and said, "Abba, we thought we were saving ourselves physically by leaving Sderot, but we ended up saving ourselves spiritually by going to Shuvu." Now you have many tzedakahs you can support, people who can't afford food, pay for chasanas, mortgages, clothes, all worthy causes. But we're talking about the future of Klal Yisrael here. People who are not from, people who need schools like Shuvu to help them return and become Shomrei Torah and Mitzvahs. We are talking about the spiritual needs of the future of Klal Yisrael. Shuvu not only saves the children in this generation, but it saves the next generation, these children's children. And in many of the Shuvu families, it saves the previous generation by encouraging and facilitating Shuvu parents to become from. Rav Pam was once quoted as saying, when he goes up to the Olam HaEmes and is asked, "What did you accomplish in this world?" he's going to answer, "I helped start Shuvu." I plan on saying, "I helped Shuvu." And after tonight, I hope each and every one of you will all be able to say, "I supported Shuvu." Because as Rav Pam said, we can never say no. Thank you very much, and Tiskel Mitzvahs. At this time, I would like to call up co-chairman of Shuvu, Rabbi Yossi Hach.
I don't think I can really add anything to that. You really summarized Shuvu very, very well. On behalf of the children of Shuvu, and everyone here too, I'd like to present both you and your wife with an award. I just want to say, maybe before making the presentation, when we had our kickoff meeting a couple of weeks ago, Abe and I afterwards just spoke about it. We were just so impressed by the young people in this neighborhood who came to the meeting. They all had the encouragement of their Rabbonim. They spoke about how the Rabbonim are encouraging them, and it was really very, very impressive. In fact, at the meeting, when we were talking about Shuvu, one of the young people corrected us, Pinchas Shine, and he said, I was at meetings before, you have to talk about Shuvu being a movement, what Rav Pam meant to Shuvu, and we're coming up to the 10th anniversary of the yahrzeit, on this yahrzeit, and we all remember the last, whoever was there at that last parlor meeting, when he exhibited such Mesiras Nefesh for Shuvu, and it's in our minds. It's something we can't forget. I want to give both you and your wife a bracha. I heard once from somebody. David HaMelech says, "Ach tov v'chesed yudufuni kol yimei chayai." Everybody, when they come into this world, you have things that chase you, problems that you have. David HaMelech prayed that Ach tov v'chesed yudufuni. All his problems should be just doing Tova Chesed. And this should be a house that's filled with Tova Chesed. You've opened your house for the thousands of children of Shuvu, literally thousands, and the story you told tonight could be multiplied. I hear them myself. I've spoken to parents, I've spoken to children. These stories are in the hundreds, if not in the thousands. And what you're doing tonight is really very, very special. I don't know if we have to read the whole plaque, but I just so we get a picture of it, and the photographer's going to be upset with me. Abe, both of us were just in Eretz Yisrael, and we're both having a lot of difficulty with making up with the time, but I came a day earlier, so I'm a little more awake. Thank you very much, and this should be a haskalah for many, many years to come to continue doing mitzvahs. I'd like to please call your attention now. We're going to show a short video presentation about Shuvu. Pam stressed much that Shuvu was not just another organization, even though it's not a yeshiva, even though it's 60 yeshivas. He always said that it was a movement. And he compared Shuvu very much to the building of the Bayis Sheni in the time of Ezra and Nehemiah. And he very, very often quoted the pasuk in Chagai.
Asru, ki ani itchem neum Hashem tzvokos. I want to ask a simple question. If we turn down all those children and the parents, will we be able to live with ourselves? Or will turning them down the rest of our lives?
Rabbi Sor, V'yisa Avramas Einav, V'yar Samakim Mirachik. Pam, with his Ruach HaKodesh, with his vision, was able to see events 20, 30 years forward to see what could happen, even though in everyone else's mind it was only a dream, maybe even a pipe dream. But Rav Pam, it was very real and very vivid what could be accomplished.